welcome back to RC Icons. So, it's huge. Vacation buys, again, all Buyee, and I apologize for those of you that are put off by Buyee, but I've got 3 videos coming, all vacation buys, 6 kits, and a bunch of parts. I think it's 15 total auctions, maybe 16 auctions. I have to break it up into 3 videos though, because otherwise we won't get to look at the kits in full. Trying to think. I think all of them are going to get built. I'm pretty sure all of them are going to get built. So regardless, this is essentially part 1 of the next 3 videos will be all vacation buys again, and it's all from Buyee. I consolidated the boxes for shipping to save money. So this box here has 2 kits in it, and this is part of a previous video where I showed you a body set that I needed a chassis for. But the box is huge. I'm a little bit put off with Buyee with this particular package, so I do share a lot of your pain for some of the people that have used Buyee and have been upset with shipping costs or what have you. This box could have been at least a third smaller. I don't know how that would have affected the actual shipping cost, but I'm sure it would have affected it. So a little bit unnecessary. Now, part of that might be my fault because I actually paid for the extra packaging option, which is like $10. But this, you'll see, this is excessive. So let me bring the camera over and we'll get into this box and we'll essentially first video. And then, like I said, the next video will be another 2 kits. And the last video will be the last 2 kits with a ton of parts. I believe there's bodies in there. So that one will be a fun one. Not that this one won't. 2 awesome kits in here. Let me bring the camera over. We'll get started. So usually I'll point the camera down a little bit at this angle, but I can't even do that because of the size of the box. I mean, it's literally ridiculous. And you'll see why I'm a little bit aggravated when we get to opening it. Just looking real quick to see, I do have a tape measure up here. Sorry for going out of frame, although you guys can't see me anyways. So this box is 28 inches across, 18 inches tall, and 20 inches wide. So that is massive. You could put probably at least 2, if not 3 bullhead kits in this box. It might be easier if I flip it the other way. So now you'll see why I'm a little bit aggravated. So I paid $10 for extra packaging. Look at all that bubble wrap. I won't have to buy it for literally 2 years. And then these are the 2 kits. Yeah. I apologize for the noise. So that huge box for this. Both of these were auction buys. Neither one of them were like a buy it now or anything. So in a recent video, I had done some Buyee buys, and they were the 2 Ford Escort Cosworths. And in that video, I was talking about how I had Subaru Imprezas. I've got the Golf Group 2, but that's a little bit older, although it's on the M05 chassis, which is newer. I have the Lancia Delta Integral on the TA01, I believe. So The Escorts are, one's on the TA01, the Tiger Stripe, the rest spoils on the TA02. But that got me going down a bit of a rabbit hole with the TA rally cars. So I was thinking to myself, well, you got Subarus, you have Escorts. What's the third one that they made a bunch of that you don't have any in the collection? Anyone? Gavin did a video, fix and flip video, last year or the year before on this car. If I say that, some of you may clue in. RC Kicks. He did a fix and flip on this car, and it didn't really work out very well for him because he's like me and everything has to be perfect. You see it? Mitsubishi Lancer. So we did not have any Mitsubishi Lancers, and they did, I think, like 10 Lancer Evolution kits over the years, starting with the first one, and then they did a Lancer 2, a Lancer 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9. I think they're on 10 now. So this one is a 4. This is about the same time period as the rest spoil, and 1997 is when this one came out. Yeah, 1997, and this one is on the TA03F, which means, this is the other reason I bought it, it's a front wheel drive. It's 4-wheel drive, but it's a front wheel drive, front motor. So I really wanted that chassis in the collection. So, and I wanted a Lancer. So when I saw this one come up, and I believe this is, yeah, all the gray parts. When I saw this one come up, I had to have it. So I'm not sure if this, so this came out of the box, and I'm not sure, because they like to pull grease and oil, if this is for that kit or this kit. So let me see if these parts bags are labeled. Yeah, this is definitely for that kit. Bearings. Yeah, that's for that. So, I don't know that they touched this kit, to be honest. So, gorgeous body shell on the Evo IV. I'm not too keen on the newer ones as much as the older ones. So this kit will obviously get built. Comes with like a street tire. I'm probably going to put a rally tire on there. 5-spoke white. And then, are those gray or black? Those are the gray parts. So the TA03 came, some of them were black and some of them were gray. And Gavin talked about it in his video where he had found a black chassis, but he really wanted the gray one, so we spent top dollar sourcing the gray parts. Tire foams, more gray parts. We've got our spoiler, and then this is our motor mount in the front. We've got our belt. It's going to be cool to have a 4-wheel drive that's front motor mount, and then we've got all our other parts. So I think it's crazy that some cars, they open and pull everything out, and other cars, they don't touch. And then in the bottom here, we've got our decals and window masks. And that's what the car will look like when it's done. Pretty cool looking car, if you ask me. It's not really a rally car as much as it is like a street car, although it says rally on it, but it's more like a street rally than like an off-road, a true off-road rally. Tons of decals on this car. So you've got all of the livery decals as well as the lights on this sheet. And then you've got the rest of the car on this sheet. So there is a ton. Trying to see what it goes up to here. 57, 61, 65, 66, 66 decals. Yeah, it looks like 66 decals. And then the window masks. 6 window masks in the kit. So that one's going to be a fun one to build. I'm intrigued as hell for that front motor on the TA03. Not having one yet, it should be pretty cool to put together. In '97, I mean, I was still in college in '97, so it's plenty old. Gorgeous manual, not a mark on it. So yeah, this one will be a fun one to build. Wow. You can go from a 12 tooth pinion all the way up to a 25 tooth pinion on this. So tons of options as far as gearing. You can get from a 9.9 all the way to a 4.7. That's crazy. Not too many Tamiya cars. What is it? 10, 14? You can go 14 different teeth on your pinions. That's not common for Tamiya cars. Let's see if I can get it all back in the box. It's always the hardest part. Looks like we did it. So that would be the first one. Box is in great shape. It was like $250 if I remember right, and then add another 60 or 70 for shipping. EMS, gotta remember EMS. It's not like I spent that kind of money and it took 4 weeks. I had this in 3 days, from Japan to my house in 3 days. So the second one. This is what happens when I go on vacation. I spend too much. There's too much downtime where I should be like reading a book, and instead I'm surfing. And then I see stuff like this. Now this one was a Buyee bargain for sure. So I looked up what this kit costs at my local hobby shop. Some of you can probably see it already. And at my local hobby shop, out the door, it was $457. I won this for $218. And then it was another $100 to ship. So I'm into it for $318. And the shop down the road has it at $457. Wow, that's a gorgeous box. I didn't realize the box was that big. I've seen this kit before too. The CR01 Toyota Land Cruiser. So, you guys remember in the Escort video, I showed you this 73 Ford Bronco body that I want for the CR01. I needed a chassis, and the cheapest chassis is the Rock Socker for about $280, which is pretty close to what I have into this at $318. I don't know if this one is a different wheelbase than the Bronco, but I know that it's a multiple wheelbase kit, so you can make whatever wheelbase you want, because it's a ladder frame and it's got a gazillion holes in it. The reason I chose this one instead of the Rock Socker is because I love this body as well. The Land Cruiser body is absolutely awesome. So I'm not really interested in the Unimog. I have the Unimog on a CC01. You guys have never seen it. Kayla built it. So I've already got a Unimog chassis truck on a CC01. So I wasn't really interested in that. And to be honest, I've got a ton of crawlers that are already pickup trucks. So I really wasn't interested in the Rock Socker. Although I will say I love the looks of the Rock Socker. Like, I love it. So this one for me, if I couldn't find, I wouldn't have spent $457 on the Land Cruiser just to put the Bronco body on it. But to get the Land Cruiser for about the same price as the Rock Soccer, it was a no-brainer for me. I was willing to spend the extra $50 or whatever it was to be able to get this truck. Now, there are a ton of hop-ups for this truck. There's not a whole lot to point out. I mean, it's a ladder frame crawler, although in terms of crawlers, Tamiya is not the best when it comes to crawlers. So this is their crawler chassis, and I think it's probably a great entry-level crawler chassis. But if you want a real affordable, like a real crawler, then go get yourself a Vetera Ascender. They're like 200, maybe $250. It's an assembly kit, and the things are unreal. I've got two of them. Caleb has one, David has one. In fact, the Vetera Ascender was the first kit that I ever bought that got me back into the hobby back in 2018. I had been watching just some random RC videos on YouTube, and I came across Medic's channel, who had done RC Adventures and RC Sparks, and he was wicked in the crawlers back then and doing custom builds and the whole 9 yards. So I've always been doing stuff with my hands. I saw his videos. He had done a K5 Blazer that was a Vetera Ascender, and I was just intrigued. So I looked them up. They were what I considered to be somewhat short money. And I bought two. Actually, I bought one, and it came from a shop in Europe. And for whatever reason, they sent me two. That's what it was. They sent me two. So I paid $257 or something, or $263 if I remember right. And two kits showed up. So when they got to the house, I called the shop and I said, "Listen, I only bought one. The receipt says one. You guys sent me a box. It's the factory box, but there's two kits in it." I said, "Do you want? I'd be happy to pay for the second one, or do you want me to send it back?" They're like, "No, the shipping back is going to cost more than a kit. Just keep it." And I was like, "Well, I was willing to pay for the second one for just because of the mistake. Like, I didn't want them to take the hit." And they're like, "No, it was our mistake. Keep the second kit." So I ended up with two for the price of one. So David has one, Caleb has one, and then I run an Axial XCX10 3. When that kit first came out, it's like 2.5 years ago at this point. They didn't even have the ready to runs out yet. You could buy, it was a Jeep, and it was an assembly kit. And the day that was released, I happened to be at a shop in Massachusetts, and they had one sitting there, so I bought it. And then I bought all the electronics to go with it, 2-speed, dig function, the whole 9 yards. So those crawlers are like what I would consider a real modern day crawler with tons of articulation, and they will literally go anywhere. Tamiya's version is a great beginner, first getting into crawling kind of kit. If I was to build this and put this up against my Axial, there's no way this thing would do as good as the Axial crawling up a riverbed or what have you. With that being said, I love it. Like, don't get me wrong. It would be like taking a new Tamiya car and putting it up against, a modern day X-Ray on the track, or an Associated on the track, right? It's just totally different. I love Tamiya. I love the experience. They're all about fun. But as far as it goes, sometimes it's just the way it is. So we're going to go backwards. I want to look at the decals first. So there's a ton of masking decals for this particular body. And then I want to try to compare wheel arches. So as far as the truck decals, it's mostly just the highlighting. So you're going to paint the truck red, and then it's very blank. It's supposed to be just a truck. So not a ton of livery stuff. They do give you some River Rock Garage and some livery or sponsorship decals in there, but it's not like a race car. And then window masks, holy smokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 masks that you got to put on before you paint the body. So that is an absolute ton. So we're going to take some of the stuff out of the box here for a couple of reasons. A, I want to get the parts bags that they took out back in the box. The other reason is I want to compare the arches on between this body and that body, so I know whether or not I can build it per the manual. So that's your instruction sheet there. The presentation of the kit. The aluminum chassis rails are zip tied to the placard here. We take that out. Oh, it looks like a 2.2 tire. And they're nice and soft with foam, so I'll give them that. I wish they did a beadlock wheel for it. I think that's a 2.2 tire. Yeah, it's definitely a 2.2 tire. So nice big beefy tires. They smell great and they feel great. They actually feel like a pretty good crawler tire. The crawler tires are usually really soft and gummy because you want that grip. Yeah, those are going to look good on here. Now I'm getting excited to build this. And then there's your aluminum rails, chassis rails. The body is definitely bigger than I thought it would be. Just want to see if I can compare arches. Yep, they're the same. Arch to arch, arch to arch. So I should be able to build it per the kit. And then I may run this. I'm going to do up both bodies, but I may run it with the Land Cruiser body. And then the Bronco body is absolutely my shelfer body. It seems like the tires should fit there, no? No. It's like all plastic parts, trees, battery tray, some brackets. There's a lot to these trucks. There's a lot of parts. Diffs, diff housings. And then what I meant to say, I started to earlier, there's the front of the grill. There is a ton of aftermarket parts for this CR01. A ton. It's crazy how many third-party parts there are for this chassis. You go online and you type in Tamiya CR01, and you could spend hours looking at them all. I may end up doing a set of real beadlock wheels, because if you're crawling, it's almost essential to have beadlocks, and these are like a fake glue together, screw together beadlock. I don't know that they're a true beadlock. They almost look like they are, but I don't know that that actually locks the bead together. I won't know until I assemble it. But beadlocks are a must on a crawler if you've never had a crawler before. Either that or you're gluing you have to glue the tires, because as soon as you start ripping over rocks and stuff and trying to climb, the tire just wants to spin on the wheel. And then the last part of it is this pile here. This is like the only truck I've ever seen that's got separate oil dampers from the actual springs. Looks like the same 27 turn Mabuchi motor as usual. This does come fully ball raced, so there's bearings everywhere, which is great. Parts bag D. The springs are separate from the dampers is what I was starting to say. So when you look at the chassis, the springs are empty. And then there's a damper that goes along with it. And I don't even know if there's dampers all the way around. It looks to me 1, 2, yeah, there is 3, 4. So this is A, B is in there, C and D. So there's the springs there. They're like a big white spring. Every crawler I have has got coil over shocks. And shocks are huge. They're a huge part of the marketplace in crawlers. So it's interesting to see this design where they are kind of separate pieces. Put this back in. Yeah, I'm psyched I got this, and I got it for the price I did. So the alternative was buying the Bronco kit for, it was over 500, is the cheapest one I've ever seen. Larry's Zabotny auction had 1 or 2 that sold. I'm not sure what they went for. I think it was over 400, which would be a good deal considering it being the Bronco kit. I really don't understand why Tamiya is not doing the Bronco on this chassis. Now, I've been thinking about this since the last video. Is it licensing? No. Because they just did a run of the bodies. This body, you could not find this body 6 months ago. And now they're everywhere. So they did the new Bronco, the 2023 on the CC02, I think, is what the chassis. It's either the CC01 or the CC02. I think it's the CC02. It was released this year in January. So they did the new Bronco. They have licensing for it. It's a licensed kit. They did another run of the 73 bodies, I think, to coincide with that release, so that if someone wanted to put a 73 on the CC01, they could. But this is the body set, the exact body set from the CR01 kit that they did years ago. Now, they're still making the Unimog, which I gotta tell you, probably does not have huge numbers sales-wise. I would have to say that the Land Cruiser is probably number 1, and or the Rock Soccer, just because the Rock Soccer is half the price. And then that's the other part I don't get. The Rock Soccer you can pick up anywhere for $289. So under $300. Most 5-6 days out of the week you'll find one for under $300. The Land Cruiser, now this came from Buyee, so it's an exception, but they're all at least $100 more than the Rock Soccer kit. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. All it is a different body. Everything else is the same. And the same with the Unimog. The Unimog is actually more money than the Rock Soccer as well. And I would never think of a Unimog being on a crawler chassis to go crawl. I think it just looks funny. It's an off-road vehicle for sure, but I don't know that I would use it as a crawler. So, and this is just my opinion. I can't assume that the Unimog sales numbers are or would be higher than the Bronco. I just don't. I think the Bronco is the nicest one made, and for whatever reason, that's the one they discontinued. And if they were to put it back out on this chassis, I bet it would sell like hotcakes. I'm just glad at this point that I can build mine. The only difference will be the tires. So the Bronco has different tires. That kit has different tires than this kit does. Other than that, everything else will be the same. The front grille might change as well. I'd have to look at the picture. But if I remember right, the grille or the push bar that's on the original Bronco is the same push bar that I sent 3 to Glenn for the Juggernaut. So whichever one Glenn doesn't use, blue, red, or silver, or 2 that he doesn't use, I can throw one on this. And then I don't even know if Glenn will use any of the 3 that I sent. So who knows? Yeah, that's it. Let me move the camera over for a closing, and we'll end this first of 3 vacation Buyee buys. I guess that's what I'll call it. You guys must be tired of Buyee videos at this point. Well, I hope you guys at least enjoyed that. Doing what I can with the time I have in the studio. So you'll have to be gracious with me, because I wish I was building cars, but I can't do it right now. I've got family in town that are actually staying in my studio, so I don't have a whole lot of time when it comes to making videos or building a kit. I just don't have that time. It's going to be another 6 to 8 weeks before I get to wrench again, and I'm already going nuts. I look around and I'm like, what can I build that's quick? And if I open a kit, it's going to be the end of it. I can't do it. So yeah, I hope this was somewhat entertaining for you. 2 more kits to add to the collection. If you're not already subscribed, I'd ask you to consider subscribing to support the channel. Thumbs up, thumbs down, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you're a crawler guy, am I right about the Tamiya crawlers versus like the Axials or Vanquish? I mean, I built a custom crawler on I think it's a C-Max frame with Vanquish portal axles when they had first come out. Thing is unreal. That's my GMC top kick body goes on that. That's what that body is actually for. So yeah, I was hardcore into crawling for a long time. In fact, I've got an 8th scale traction hobby crawler that's absolutely insane as well. The 8th scale ones are cool and they come ready to run, and Traction does an awesome job with those trucks. But anyways, I digress. Let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks.